This summer, Johnsonville reminds everyone to get their sausage family together to enjoy some plump, juicy brats around the grill. Because at Johnsonville, we don't make sausage, we make family and sausage.
National League Central rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss, he struck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNradio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hi, it's Greeny. Thank you for checking out the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. Here's what we have for you today. Plenty of NBA conversation, including Mike Dunleavy joining the discussion. Mike and Jemele were with us from His and Hers, talking boxing and more. A special hour with Kenny Chesney in our studio, and a special guest visit from the Saints coach, Sean Payton.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Busy. We are so much going on. Twitter reaction, really interesting. With people's thoughts on the fight. You heard a little bit of Jim Lampley there in our open. He was a guest of ours late in yesterday's show. And in our first hour here just a few minutes ago, we asked the question first to him, and he gave his answer, and then we asked it to you. Do you think there'll be any carryover effect from Mayweather-Pacquiao to sort of lift the whole sport of boxing at all? And some of the reaction we're getting, Brian, Mayweather-Pacquiao better be a good fight or a whole lot of people will be turned off all that money for a bad fight. I mean, that's the risk that you run.
Oh, it sure is. Yeah, I mean, all signs point toward a good fight, but certainly nothing is guaranteed.
Chris asks the question.
This is a great question.
Well, I've heard this asked before. $99 to watch from your home and millions will pay it, which begs, what would happen if the Super Bowl were pay-per-view? They'd never do it. One of the reasons for the NFL's popularity, there are a lot of reasons, but one of them is it is so accessible.
Yes, it is.
So accessible. So do they maximize every penny they could make? Generally, yes. But could they put the Super Bowl on pay-per-view? They could, but far fewer people would watch it. Would they make more money individually on that one event? Sure.
Yeah, they would.
But far fewer people would. 100 million people aren't going to buy it.
No, they're not.
Or whatever it would, whatever it would add up to. Mm-hmm. So far fewer people would watch it.
I
right?
would completely agree. But that's an interesting question, though.
I've heard
of just how many
it.
Who would actually pay for it.
Chad and Eau Claire haven't bought a fight since Tyson. I may get this one.
Yeah.
He was the last guy who I thought moved the needle.
I don't think there's any doubt he was the last guy who moved the needle both in the ring and out of the ring. You just had to witness the Tyson experience. As I said, he covers all the ground of whether he was going to kill the guy in the ring, bite the guy in the ring. There was going to be something before the fight or after the fight. This seems to me more just actually about what's going to go on in the ring.
And then here's the one I really want to respond to. Joel tweets at us. There are plenty of boxing stars in the sport. People are just too lazy to do their research. Here's the problem, Joel.
Yeah, Joel.
It's not people's job.
No, it is not.
To find them.
It's the sport's job to make them accessible to us and for us to recognize that.
But there isn't anyone whose job it is to do that. Right? What do we talk about all the time with Major League Baseball? And I feel that they're doing an increasingly good job of doing it, marketing their young stars, getting them out there, making them available for this or that.
It's the sports job, Joel. It's not the spectator's job.
If you put this fight on ABC or that's our company, any network, doesn't matter. Put it on CBS, NBC, Fox. Put it on a channel that everyone has and doesn't have to pay for. How many more people would watch it than are going to watch it now? Right? I mean, millions and millions, because there are millions of people who what are they going to get? How many buys are they going to get on this thing? A couple of million, right? Which at $100 is a phenomenal payday. Mm-hmm. But how many people are you leaving out of the party?
Right.
I mean, millions of people would watch this fight for free.
The ratings would be monstrous if this were on free TV.
That would raise the sport.
That's going to help the sport more, but they're too worried about them. And this is a sport where everybody wants to make money. Don't get me wrong. If you're a business, you want to make money. But you also have to have a plan, don't you? Of having an audience, of being a popular sport and staying popular.
But who's going to do that? Well, this is all their own little individual
That's exactly
people.
right.
Mayweather and Pacquiao are just worried about Mayweather and Pacquiao.
Completely agree. They're not worried about the sport of boxing. They're worried about their fiefdom. That's exactly right. So I would too if I was them.
Who's
looking out for the sport?
Because there is no central. They have these, a bunch of different, commissions that oversee the sport, and it's rife with tons of corruption.
And so that's what they lack. Nobody runs this sport that is saying we always hear about that the commissioners for the other sports, the commissioner for the good of the game, what's best for the game. There's nobody like that in boxing. There's nobody in boxing. I'm looking out for me. I'm looking out for number one, what can I get? It's not, nobody's looking out for the sport.
Which is why, while there is unprecedented hype and interest in Mayweather-Pacquiao, my gut feeling is that unfortunately there will be little, maybe not none, but little carryover effect to the sport.
I think the interest is in Mayweather-Pacquiao. The interest is not boxing.
All the Twitter reaction through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Celebrate birthdays with a smile. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN for offers starting at $29.99. Quickly, while we're talking about commissioners and the things that they do, obviously Pete Rose in the news a lot now. He's been hired by Fox to do analysis for them in the studio. If you've heard Pete interviewed at all, and he's interviewed all the time, and Pete does a ton of interviews, you know that he has stayed up on the game. Pete watches like 3-4 baseball games a day every single day. So I think he'll do a very good job. Further, he's going to have a part in the All-Star game in Cincinnati.
Right.
It's not quite clear yet what that's going to be.
But the Reds have are allowed to involve him.
And I mean, the speculation, we'll be there.
Yes, we will.
We'll be at the All-Star game this year, and the speculation is endless that would be the spot to announce that he is being reinstated to the sport in some way if they're going to do it. I think there is a feeling that Rob Manfred, and he said it when he was sitting here, he certainly seems much more open to the possibility than Bud did or than Fay was before him. If they're going to do it, that would seem like the natural spot.
Well, it seems like the natural spot, but I think a lot of people, would Rob Manfred think it's too early? Too early in his commissionership to say that all of a sudden change that. The timing makes it look like it would be the great time to do it, but would it be too early in the changeover?
Now, Rose was on with Mike and the guys yesterday, the Michael Kay show on ESPN New York, and he reiterated something he's been saying for years, that he didn't bet on baseball as a player.
Never gambled when I was a player. That's a fact. I didn't read the Dowd report, but I don't think that allegation was ever brought forward as far as I know when I got suspended talking to Bart Giamatti.
So that's the bone of contention here. And if he continues saying that, I don't know whether that works for him or against him, because this was then brought to John Dowd yesterday after that conversation. And again, Dowd continues to say, and he was the author of the Dowd report, which which Pete says he didn't read. But John Dowd told our Willie Weinbaum of Outside the Lines, he bet when he was a player manager in 85, 86. The proof is in the report, and there is more evidence from others and from gambling records. It's all right there that he bet as a player manager. That's the way Pete is. He knows the truth, and he lied about it in his book. That's the part that I think doesn't help him much. Nope. I think, and look, he's asked the question. He's got to answer it.
Yeah, he does.
But if I were to offer some unsolicited advice to Pete Rose, I think the best thing he could do is say, you know what, all that is behind me now. I've made huge mistakes. I've paid an enormous price. I really just want to look forward now, because it's not like he hasn't answered that question 100 times. But the more times he says, I didn't bet as a player, and the more John Dowd says yes, he did, I think that works against him.
I completely agree. I agree. He's answered. He believes in his answer, and he keeps saying it. I think people squirm a little bit in their seats when they hear him say that answer. Don't you? I think you get a little uneasy about it.
Look, I mean, I was not working in the business yet when this happened, so I didn't sit and cover all of this as closely as possible. But there's no question it's in the data. He says he didn't read the Dowd report. He could if he wanted to. The Dowd report is not a secret. It's available online for anyone who wants to read it right now. They offer evidence of it. Pete signed it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the problem he's never been able to overcome.
Exactly right.
The best thing he could do now is to stop fighting it and just sort of throw himself on the mercy of the court, which on some level he's done. But I understand he's being asked the question.
I know he is, but I agree with you. I don't think it's doing him any good the way he's answering it. Though some would say, listen, if he's being honest about it, but unfortunately, when you sign the piece of paper that says you did, and then you say I never did, it doesn't look too good.
We're Mike and Mike. Mike Dunleavy Sr. will join us in just a couple of minutes here, all around the NBA. But let me give you some trade rumors, because when all of us reconvene 1 week from this moment, we will be recapping the first round of the NFL draft.
We will.
And it'll be fascinating to see what has happened. Doug Farrar on SI.com writes a piece about how there are, with exactly 1 week before the start of the draft, trade rumors are as hot as ever, and there are three prominent players who could be potential trading chips: Phillip Rivers, Adrian Peterson, and Marcus Mariota. Now, there was a story parenthetically that this new stadium that they're proposing to build in L.A. for the Chargers and the Raiders, how much is it for the Chargers and the Raiders?
Right.
They're actually, in the design, there's like a tribute to Al Davis, and there's a lightning bolt. There's actual lightning. that they would use every time the Chargers score a touchdown.
Yeah. So that pretty much seals the deal, doesn't it?
The Chargers are going to L.A.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you're the Chargers, the general manager can come out and say, Phillip is our quarterback all he wants to. They're going to L.A. If he has made it 100% clear to them that he's not going to L.A. with them, and he has the opportunity to leave, then they really have to consider trading him. And further, when, again, this is written by, I just lost my, this is written by, computers are a pain in the neck, Doug Farrar. He writes here that it's more than just that the Phillip Rivers thing, that Rivers has lost a lot of confidence in the management and all that kind of stuff in San Diego, and that for any number of reasons they should make the move, and that the trade that makes the most sense would be Phillip Rivers and the 17th overall pick, San Diego's pick, to Tennessee for the 2nd overall pick, and then San Diego takes Marcus Mariota. He thinks that is the likeliest scenario of all.
It makes sense to me. I mean, if Phillip, and you got to have that conversation, and if Phillip Rivers has said, it sounds like if he's had that with them, saying, I'm not going to L.A. If you go to L.A., I'm with you. I think you have to do it. You got one more year of Phillip Rivers, as opposed to he's not going to sign the extension now. You're not going to have him. So do you take that one more year, or do you say, okay, we're going to get this guy? Now you have to believe that Marcus Mariota is the guy, right? I mean, that you have to buy into
all
that.
All of it is contingent on that.
All of it. You have to buy in that he's the guy, and if you think he is, so now you're banking one more year on Phillip Rivers if he says there's no way he's going to L.A., as opposed to grabbing a guy you think could be a franchise quarterback. You have to do it. Yes, I agree.
The other two teams he says he considers the likeliest trade partners involving Mariota are Cleveland and Washington. Does not mention the Jets, does not mention the Rams, does not mention the Eagles. It's based, I think, I'll read it to you as we go on here because Mike Dunleavy's ready to go. It is based largely on what those teams can offer most easily in a trade moving up. He's also got Adrian Peterson trade scenarios and more. So we'll go through all that a little bit later here. Mike and Jemele will join us in our studio, and we'll go through NFL draft stuff. But Mike Dunleavy, a senior, is ready to go, doing a great job analyzing basketball on TNT and more. You'll hear him in 1 minute after this word from LifeLock. Are you looking forward to your tax refund? Well, so are identity thieves. They steal refunds by filing fraudulent tax returns. Last year alone, they stole more than an estimated $5 billion from hardworking Americans just like you. Once an identity thief gets a hold of your tax forms, watch out. They know that virtually all the information they need to steal your identity, even your life savings, is right there. Help protect yourself with LifeLock Ultimate Plus.
Yep, it provides protection for your Social Security number, your bank accounts, investments, even the equity in your home. If you filed taxes this year, if you did it online, well, you're going to need to get LifeLock Ultimate Plus. That's going to help you out. Nobody can stop all the identity theft out there. Nobody can monitor every single business. LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides their most comprehensive identity theft protection available. Visit LifeLock.com now. Enter the promo code Mike. You're going to save yourself 10% on your LifeLock Ultimate Plus membership. That's promo code Mike at LifeLock.com to get our special 10% discount. LifeLock.com.
We're Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and joining us now on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, longtime NBA player, longtime NBA coach, now doing analysis on TNT. You can find him there, and NBA TV's studio coverage. Their show NBA Game Time has comprehensive nightly coverage throughout the playoffs, including pre- and post-game and live press conference coverage. Mike Dunleavy is with us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. We are well. Very quickly, before we get to anything else, I've always wanted to ask you about this. Many, many years ago, and sometimes my memory's not as good as I think it is, but I remember going to a game in Milwaukee when you were an assistant coach and you suited up and played. A, am I remembering that correctly? And B, are there players in the league you could see doing that now?
A, that is true. I did it a couple of times, as late as 1990, right the year I actually went on to be the head coach of the Lakers. And as far as guys doing it today, yeah, I'm sure guys could do it today. I mean, they're better conditioned, play longer, than when I was playing for sure. So yeah, there's probably guys out there can do it.
And people jokingly and talk about how LeBron is really the coach of the Cavaliers and everything else. All kidding aside, there was an era in the NBA where there were player coaches. There were those in other sports as well. Do you think that's even a remote possibility ever again? Could you ever see a player on a team being the coach?
I mean, I never say never about anything, but I think it's a little less likely. I mean, it could happen in certain cases. I mean, the last real one was probably Bill Russell. and he coached his team to a championship, but he had a little something to do with it.
Mm-hmm. What if a guy like Jason Kidd, who just could run from the floor to the coach, if he could be that player coach? All right, let's go on the court, or in this case, kind of the mentality on the court. New Orleans comes back 0-2, and they play their first game at home. They're up 20 going into the fourth quarter, and they end up losing the game in overtime to Golden State. Take us in the locker room of New Orleans after that game, and then going forward to try and get ready for the next game from their mental state.
Well, it's very tough to begin with because, teams coming home down 2-0, the one thing they do know is the history of the NBA. Nobody has ever come back from 3-0. So it virtually is a must-win game until somebody proves it differently. And we have a couple of teams that have the opportunity right now potentially to do that. But so you come out with that desperation. You know that you're at home and you're going to get fans behind you, and you go for it. And unfortunately, when you come up short, the job of the coach is to say, kill cliche. So you've got to play it one game at a time. And, I know nobody's ever come back from 3-0. But at some point in time, somebody's going to do it. Why not us? So the first way we do it is we had these guys on the ropes. We let it get away from ourselves. Some mental mistakes in the leagues, obviously some even physical ones. I mean, New Orleans got pounded on the offensive glass. I mean, it's even in the last 5 minutes. I think Golden State had 7 offensive rebounds in the last 5 minutes. Last 5 minutes, I think New Orleans went 1 for 10. So physically, they just weren't there at that point in time. But they've got a big-time player, superstar player in Anthony Davis, plays both ends of the floor. And if they can get out to a good start again and get a lead, I think that they'll have learned some from the mistakes of the last game. And for them, I mean, I think getting one victory, in the case of all the teams that are down 0-2, for the most part, the young teams, to get one victory would be a real positive step for them.
Yeah, they actually, Golden State had 10 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter, 16 second-chance points in the fourth quarter coming from 20 down. Mike and Mike Dunleavy, all 3 games last night were good. All 3 series went to 3-0, unfortunately, but all 3 games were good. And in Cleveland, the game was actually in Boston, maybe the most important thing was that Kevin Love was heavily involved late in that game. Clutch time minutes, he's knocking down big shots. He and LeBron are doing little handshakes and dancing, having fun. How are you seeing the role of Kevin Love evolving right now on Cleveland, and how do you think that has to work for them going forward if they're going to win the title this year?
I agree with you that, by far is his most significant game, particularly obviously in the playoffs. He did what, he needs to do for them. Basically, he had 10 3-pointers in that game. 6, he made 6 of them. Basically, he's there to space the floor for Kyrie and LeBron James. Kyrie and LeBron were, I think, numbers 2 and 3 in isolation points in the NBA behind James Harden last year. So that's his job. People sometimes don't understand maybe what his role is. Personally, I'd like to see him involved a little bit more because he's a great passer. I'd love to see him on the elbow, and in a position to be making some plays for the Cavaliers. I think there's a misnomer out there a lot of times about players they want more shots or they want this, that, and the other thing from an offense. I think a lot of times guys just really want touches, and the more touches that you get, it gives you a better feel for when it does come time for you to get a chance to shoot the basketball. And so that, along with as good of a rebounder as he is, that team, that's his job to help them bring home a championship.
Bulls get the double overtime win over Milwaukee. Derrick Rose, who comes back from meniscus surgery, kind of bringing him along. Wasn't sure how he would be through the playoffs as far as minutes and coming along. 48 minutes last night, 34 points. Is it fair to say we think he is close to 100% or what he was, or more work to get there yet?
What's interesting is when guys go out, they decide, hey, I'm going to go for a workout and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try and blow it out early. And try and get my wind. It's one of those things with Derek. You're sitting there saying to yourself, wow, I wouldn't even thought before the game necessarily that he could do that because of the limited time he's played last night. But he kind of got his second wind and second gear in that, when they got to the overtimes. And he was spectacular. He had the acceleration. He made 5 threes last night. So you have to have your legs under you to make your 3-pointers. But just the way in this series that he's attacked the rim, forget the fact that the shooting percentage is getting there, but just the fact that he was willing to do that. I mean, late in the game last night in regulation, he attacked that rim with short seconds on the clock and took a big hit and went down. And I'm sure a lot of fans out there, were gasping at it. But just the fact that, he's playing full abandon. He's not thinking about that knee. That tells me that he's feeling pretty good.
Mike Dunleavy with us again, TNT and NBA TV right now doing analysis for them. As a longtime player and a longtime coach, what's your thoughts on what's going on right now with Rajon Rondo?
It's a tough one. Basically, he went to Dallas, when the team was playing really well offensively, and they thought they were making somewhat of a trade-off. They really get maybe a truer point guard in a sense, but that maybe that was to help them ramp up their defense. Because the one thing that we know in the NBA, I mean, as recently as the last 15 years, there's virtually been like one team to win an NBA championship who has not been in the top 10 in defense in the league, and that was Miami. And Miami that year, they made some changes around the deadline and actually finished up the last from I think it was from the All-Star break, like number 8. So they got their defense together late in the year. Dallas offensively was rolling, but defensively they were way out of sorts. And so I think they thought this was a combination move of we're going to, help our defense and we get a true point guard who's played big in the playoffs, who's come up with triple doubles. When the lights are really shining bright, he's a guy that can step up big. And honestly, you know what? It just didn't work. I mean, he did not fit as well. He wanted to dominate the ball a little bit more. And if you're willing to go get, a guy like Rajon Rondo, you have to know that's a part of his game, I think, that he needs the ball in his hands more. He needs to dominate the ball more. And you have to live with him. He's a very bright guy, but he's also I haven't experienced it personally with him, but he can be, from what I hear, pretty stubborn at times. And I think some of that kicked in here, and I'm not sure. I mean, he kind of came up with that back injury pretty quickly as far as I was concerned, and I hope it heals quick. I hope it heals better for him. But you heard Rick Carlisle say he does not expect for Rajon Rondo to ever wear a Dallas Mavericks uniform again.
Yeah, that feels like a divorce that cannot possibly come soon enough. We'll see what the next step is. Mike, we're watching you on TV and always appreciate it. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
It's Mike Dunleavy again. You've seen him now on TNT and NBA TV. He's a very good analyst. Mm-hmm. I remember that when I went to Northwestern, I think I've told you this before, that living in Chicago, that was at the height of the Jordan sensation. It was before they were winning titles, but he was a young superstar player. You couldn't get a ticket to see a game in Chicago no matter what. But you could get tickets in Milwaukee, and that was when you live in Evanston, Illinois, which is like an hour and 10 minutes. So I was a lifelong Knicks fan at that point. When the Knicks would come play in Milwaukee, I would drive up there and go to the game because you could get tickets. Right. And I remember, for some reason, that stuck in my mind. Mike Dunleavy was an assistant coach. They had injuries on the team, and so he dressed and played. Yeah. He was an assistant coach. He would be coaching, and then every once in a while he'd go out on the court and play.
Now. Jason Kidd, like I said, he went right from the court to the bench, so he could.
There's so much that goes into coaching now that there's just no way you could do that at the same time.
No way. But it'd be fun. It'd be fun to think about, wouldn't it?
It would be fun to think about which players could do it. Like
right now in the current coaching
I don't think it's ever happened in football. I could be wrong. But certainly in basketball and baseball, there have been many players. Pete Rose was a player manager 30 years ago.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Guys, when you buy your clothes at DXL, you look good. But you feel like a rock star. So if you want to look and feel like you'll find all the brands you love, waist size 38 and up, all in one awesome store. DXL, you're looking good. Right now, select dress shirts are just $49.50 each when you buy 2 or more.
The best of Mike and Mike.
We are Mike and Mike, and they are his and hers. You see them every weekday, noon Eastern on ESPN2. The His and Hers podcast, also available on ESPNradio.com and iTunes. Michael Smith and Jemele Hill are here. Let's start with the T-shirts. What do we have today, Jemele?
Both Mike and I went with a Friday theme. This is the 20th anniversary of the movie Friday, so I got big. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Sunday, the 26th.
Yeah,
right?
Sunday the 26th.
Yeah.
So,
seems inappropriate that the anniversary of Fridays would be on a Sunday, but that's
okay. So we figure we celebrating on a Friday.
Neither here nor there. A pleasure to have you both here, and a lot of stuff to get into. We got some NFL draft stuff. We got some basketball stuff. I want to start with the fight. We had Jim Lampley on yesterday, and I don't know if you got a chance to hear any of that conversation, but he gave a really good answer. Mike asked him, will there be any sort of rising tide lifting all boats for the sport of boxing to come from this fight? And his very honest answer was, I don't know. It remains to be seen. There are a couple of other big fights in May. Will those be elevated by Mayweather-Pacquiao? It's an interesting question. Jemele, I'll give you the floor to begin. Do you believe that Mayweather-Pacquiao will actually lift the entire sport of boxing?
I'm not so sure about that. I've said for a long time that I think where boxing went wrong, and went wrong is relative, because this idea that boxing is dead, I don't buy that. As soon as you have a personality or storyline, certainly the pay-per-view numbers do not assert that it's dead. Now, you can say it's a one-man, or in this case, a two-man sport, Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao being the biggest draws. I get that. But when they stopped being on ABC Wild World of Sports, I grew up when boxing was actually, you could watch it for free. You didn't have to have cable, and certainly didn't have to buy it on pay-per-view. And I think taking it out of some kind of regular TV mode, that you didn't have to pay for, was a mistake in a lot of ways, because at least you can start to follow the boxers. And this does not apply, because I know all the boxing nuts are going to tweet me and say, no, I follow it. And yeah, I'm not talking about people who have a hardcore interest, but when you're talking about casual fans, how you introduce them and get them to know all the boxers is through the Olympics, it's through having it on Wild World of Sports. And once they stopped doing that, I think it just lost a lot of some of the cachet it had with the public.
Mike, what do you think?
The interesting thing about this Mayweather-Pacquiao fight is discussing it, arguing about what could happen, anticipating it, or arguing whether it ever would happen, was the sport unto itself. It was like a little sidebar to boxing. Yep. It was so interesting, and it's like, in some respects, be careful what you wish for. Like, this is the fight everybody wanted to see, but it's like, well, then what? So if Jim Lampley doesn't know if it's going to take the sport to another level, I feel much better about saying I don't either. Jamel's right. I mean, you got to distinguish between the casual fan and the hardcore boxing aficionado. Try telling them that boxing's dead. I got every cable station. I spend a lot of time watching a lot of movies, over and over again, I might add. And I see promo after promo for fights on HBO or Showtime. So boxing is alive and well in a lot of pockets of our country. But for the casual fan, after this, because a lot of people are going to watch this fight, buy it, have fight parties. But after this, what's to look forward to?
Well, I think this fight is about Mayweather and Pacquiao, not about boxing. Just what you said. I think that's what it's become. And boxing people can get mad all they want, but sorry, their sport has taken a nosedive. It has. So we're talking about we're not talking about getting them. They're there.
When you say nosedive, do you mean just in terms of day-to-day relevancy? Is that what you mean?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was way more relevant. So what we're talking about is, how do you get that back? And one of the reasons we won't is because of just what you said. It's not available to the casual fan. So the hardcore boxing fans are always going to be behind their sport, and I get it. But listen, if you want to get the casual fans back, you have to make it available to them. I have a guy who owns a boxing gym. And it says, I run a boxing gym. A week after every huge pay-per-view fight, my sign-ups increase 40%. Those same people are never there again by the next big fight. He said it's just the interest, and then it goes away.
Here's the way I would describe it, Jemele, and you tell me if you agree. Because I'm talking, I remember the same era you did, and you would see Ernie Shavers fighting Ken Norton on ABC with Howard Cosell announcing it. It's phenomenal. If you want to look at people in the sport who are celebrities within the culture, not within the sports, but beyond that. We talk about that with baseball all the time. How many baseball players have crossed over? How many boxers could the average person walking down the street that does not consider him or herself a hardcore sports fan, much less a boxing fan, name?
Yeah.
Is it two? Is it any more than
maybe
these
the Klitschko's? I mean,
well, speaking of the Klitschko's, I was going to say, if you're even a sports fan, name all the heavyweight champions.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
You talk about center of the Lakers, center fielder for the Yankees, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, heavyweight champion of the world used to mean something big. Everybody can identify with the heavyweight champion in the world. Maybe it's the absence of that one dominant heavyweight figure.
We had a lot of them who were Americans, let's be honest.
Yeah.
We're in the USA, we're talking about we're talking one of the reasons why maybe tennis fell off a while is we didn't have any of those Americans to hold on to for us to watch, and that's where you are in the heavyweight division right now.
Here's another issue. Bubba just sent us a note, and he did a very good job of breaking it down.
Huge.
He just sent us the list of all of the champions. The WBA has as many as 3 title holders in the same weight class. Middleweight has 3 WBA champions, 2 WBC champions, and no champion in the IBF. Welterweight has 5 belts, 7 champions, 5 different title holders. So that's one of the problems. They used to call it the alphabet soup of boxing. But even with that, I remember a time when, like, you know, and you're from Detroit. I mean, Thomas Hearns was fighting Ray Leonard or whoever he was fighting, and out of the Croc Gym in Detroit. And he was the WBA and the WBC champion. And you could sort of follow that.
Yeah, even they unified it, yeah.
But you can't follow all of, I mean, who could follow all of this?
Very difficult. And also just the absence of characters. You know, say what you want about Mayweather. There's certainly a lot to be said about Mayweather. He is at least polarizing.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
And sometimes you need that in the heavyweight division in particular.
Well, we've always had those kind of characters in boxing. And Greeny, you've made this point before when talking about the different sports and how they draw interest. The one thing boxing does have going for it, and why I think it's okay with where it is right now, is we are an event-based society, okay? And clearly Mayweather-Pacquiao is a huge event. Now, really all you need to do is add the characters, and it could be back at literally any moment, and back in terms of the casual fan interest. So from that standpoint, I feel like it is in good shape because it's able to create the event of it.
I wonder, and I don't know this. What's youth boxing participation like?
I don't know. I don't know that either. I don't know, and I don't know. Do you really think boxing could be back that quick?
Well, it's back right now, but notice
just because of
but notice how our interest, that's how it goes. It's like whenever there are characters, a Mayweather, a Tyson, whenever there's a character for us to argue about and to latch on to something, we do it.
But now that we have it, I mean, you know, unless they're going to give us a 3-fight series.
I guess the question is, though, who's looking out for the sport of boxing?
Well,
who's watching the watchers?
Well, but who's that commissioner that says I'm looking out for the best interest of the sport?
Yeah, I mean, it's fractured not just with the number of different belts and that kind of thing, but look at the number of different camps. You know, you have Bob Arum and you have Oscar De La Hoya and all these different people. Look, like him or hate him, that's the one thing. Don King.
I miss him.
I miss him.
Another character.
Don King was that character.
He was.
So I think boxing is now just kind of more of a soap opera as opposed to, you know, kind of what it used to be as an actual sport.
And that's a good word.
I don't know about youth participation, but I will say that the Olympic boxing, that used to be one of the top events in the Olympics, right? That was what you would look forward to more than anything. Now boxing is buried in the coverage of the Olympics, for whatever that's worth.
Mike and Mike.
Could more stuff be going on? We're Mike and Mike are presented by Progressive Insurance. The music is Kenny Chesney. He's going to be here in studio. His and hers. Mike and Jemele are in studio right now. There's Subway Fresh Take. Damian Woody's on his way in here. Your chance to win a fabulous trip to the ESPYs, which, by the way, this year for the first time will be on ABC. I assume you guys have been to the ESPYs?
I have. I went to my first one last year.
Never been.
It's a fabulous event.
It is fabulous.
My anniversary is July 15th.
Which is this year's date of the ESPYs. So are you taking your wife?
I got 3 kids. You want to babysit for me? I
got
3 little kids.
Drop
8, 6,
the kids
and 2.
My kids will be away at camp all summer, so I miss them all summer. How old are they?
8, 6, and 2.
Give me the 8 and the 6.
I'm about to say, because that 2-year-old, she refuses to go in the potty.
The 8 and the 6. I'll take the 8 and the 6.
Right.
I had a little trouble with the 2. I worked my way. I you know, well, whatever. Yeah. You may want to move on. In this hour, the winning word is coming up. You will just be listening. We'll give you the ways to enter, and you can win a fabulous trip to the ESPYs in July. Quickly, they told me, Jemele, you had not heard. By winning a little wager with Golic, I get the opportunity to rename a segment on our show. We do this segment called Nerd Notes. It was my idea.
Very familiar.
And that's why it was his idea. He doesn't, so that's why, and he's a nerd. There were Nerd Notes.
Okay.
He thought it was appropriate.
I did not like the term.
He didn't.
So
we didn't care.
We solicited on Twitter yesterday a variety of suggestions.
Always a good idea.
Because he won the wager with Tiger. With Tiger not making the cut. I said he would make the cut. He would, so he can change the name.
And so beginning Monday, we're working on the production. They will for now and forevermore be known as D's Notes. What do you think?
What do you think?
Look at the look on her face.
What do you think?
You don't like it? No? It doesn't work?
These notes. Oh, come on, man. Oh, no.
Multiple E's.
This is
You realize what you're inviting by having that.
Well, I mean...
Yeah,
Mike, just stick with the mid still selling, dude.
Yeah, no.
This right here.
I actually know what this is. I know
he actually knows what it is.
You know what it is?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And you're cool with this?
Hey, man, if you got it like that, bro.
I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny. But
So that's how you introduce it every day?
It's
These
memorable.
notes.
Well, we got the production, we got. I was thinking of spelling it with a third E, just to sort of extend out. No, are we no good with this?
I'm good with it. I'm just shocked that everybody else is.
We haven't bounced it off anybody else.
Oh, yeah, cool.
All right, okay. Well, look, if anybody hits you with both, don't respond.
Okay.
Don't respond. I'm just letting you know, all right? And I'll explain that to you off air.
When did this come to you?
It was a tweet.
It was a tweet, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is what happens when you invite the listeners and viewers to
We
get
had
involved.
I can't get no satisfaction.
Yeah.
We had a
Pretty
that involved the word stats or notes.
I've had a time to process this in this couple seconds. I can see it working. What you got for me? These notes.
Yeah,
I mean, I can see it working.
Really? You encouraging that?
At the end of the day, they're just stats.
Be on the show all the time.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're just a bunch of numbers. I can do them right now. I have 4 ready for today.
I don't want you to do D's notes right now.
We don't have the.
Yo, man, I don't know what's going on. This is not the Mike and Mike I grew up on. I don't know what's going on.
This is not your father's Mike and Mike.
No, it's not. It's all changing.
Where are we? All right, Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot. This is the Mike and Mike you grew up with. Now you can test drive Snapshot even if you have insurance with another company. See how much you can save before you switch. All right, where were we? Finishing up the NFL trade stuff before we work our way to the NBA. Mike, the point that Parcells brought up yesterday was, is Winston mobile enough, right? Because he got guys like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, insert other immobile quarterback here. They never get hit. So
they get rid of the ball, or quite honestly, they hit the deck.
That's what I'm saying. They never get hit. The big quarterbacks who aren't the great movers.
Jameis Winston is not a statue. Jameis Winston can move some. He's not going to kill you running the ball, but he can move a little bit.
Can he move Roethlisbergerianly or whatever?
Nobody plays like that.
Nobody can do it like that where people actually bounce off you. But he can. I think he can avoid the rush enough.
Well, Parcells seemed to insinuate that was a major question.
Well, I think. Well, listen, we won't know the answer. I understand it being a question. We won't know the answer until we see him play. I believe he can avoid it enough. But I also think his anticipation will be good enough, and he gets rid of the ball.
But isn't there a question about the quickness of his delivery? So if you've got a combination of a little slow delivery and a little slow feet.
We've already seen that get fixed. We've seen his release on a lot of it because of baseball, kind of a more windy motion to where he got. That's the one thing when I talk about pro days, you don't check a lot. The one thing you did see different is the release. Now, you got to see it in pads and under duress and under fire as well, but that is something he has quickened up.
See, I'm talking myself into Mariota because I think the Jets are going to wind up with him. To be completely
so
honest,
you're trying to embrace it right now.
Look, again, misinformation is everywhere. Everyone is lying to everyone at this time of year. I get it. But I'm hearing so much about the Jets' infatuation
they've already
with
brought him in.
Mariota.
They've seen him twice with the private workout, and then he's been.
It turns out they surreptitiously met with him another time. So, Michael, maybe I'm just talking myself into loving him because I think he's about to become my quarterback, but I'm starting to love him.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think there's certainly a lot to love about him, especially from an intangible standpoint. I mean, people think the world of him. One thing I wanted to go back to, you guys said in the last segment, talking about people coming around on Marcus Mariota. One thing, I'm obsessed with the draft. I love this time of year. It's my favorite event. The thing I'm most looking forward to next weekend, not the fight, not the Kentucky Derby, not the playoffs, but the draft, all 3 days. And what always frustrated me over the years, back in my former life when I covered the draft extensively, was how narratives stick toward the end of the college football season. And people act like these guys haven't been working on these, the scouts haven't been working on these players for years, and that this is not a process. There's a reason why the draft process is so long, because your scouts are bringing information to the coaches who haven't spent all season watching these guys. Everybody's meeting. This isn't something that's just popping out of nowhere. Like, oh, people are coming around or talking themselves into Marcus Mariota. It's like, no, they actually thought better of him than those of us who casually observed him and see him in the spread and attach these different concerns to him based on no research at all. What I'm basically saying is football people actually do this for a living, have thought highly of Marcus Mariota much longer than the casual fan base who's saying, oh, he's a spread guy. Those types of things tend to stick when that's not really what they're saying behind closed doors.
Yeah, it looks, I'm going to use the word exposed. That's too strong a word.
Exactly.
He plays a bad game in the national championship game. Everyone in America watches that, and they decide, okay, he's not going to be a good NFL quarterback.
It's why I get annoyed when people say, oh, if he'd have come out last year, he'd have been the number 1 overall pick and said it about Barkley or Matt Leinart. No, they wouldn't have. No, because the process would have exposed it. You know, you see them in college, and you think they would have been number one, they'd have gone. You know, they'd have known that. You go through the process, your flaws get exposed, and people start to learn more about you.
I think the other big question here, and Jemele, I'll throw it to you quickly, and then we'll get to some NBA, is do you think, because, you know, the clock is ticking, the draft is Thursday, do you believe Adrian Peterson will be traded before Thursday?
Mike and I, man, we've had this running conversation about this, it seems like now for months. I'm going to go back to, I guess, what I said last week. I feel like he's going to be a Viking. And I know that Mike has told me 1,000 times that on draft day that dude is going to be gone.
I'm less confident about that now.
Are you? Okay.
After hearing,
I'm less confident that he's going to be a Viking, but now
we're switching?
Switching. So now you're less confident.
Well, Stephen Jones kind of, I mean, you know, he said, hey, we don't anticipate trading draft picks for veterans, so that kind of threw me off a little bit. I just think once it comes down to it, somebody will make the Vikings an offer that makes it a smart choice to get rid of a 30-year-old running back, albeit not your typical 30-year-old. That's costing you $12.5 million that doesn't really want to be there.
Yeah, I think my thought had been he'd stay with the Vikings, and if there was a team to me that would be the perfect fit where the team is and what they need and how close they are would be the Cardinals with that passing.
And they have a late first-round pick, maybe a little easier to stomach giving up if you're them.
Or a conditional win next year. It doesn't have to be a first-rounder this year. It could be a second this year, conditional pick next year. Depends on what he does.
I think if you're the Vikings, though, you want to get a first-round pick this year, don't you think? I mean, you want someone on the field this year if you're trading away Adrian Peterson. That would be my thought. That might be short-sighted thinking, but I think
that's probably how they are. Make us an offer we can't refuse.
That's what I think I'd be doing. All right, Mike and Mike, let's do a minute for 1-800-Flowers.com. Then we'll take these his and hers through all the NBA action from last night and the bigger picture stories in the playoffs after this word from 1-800-Flowers.com. Go look. There are so many reasons to send roses this time of year, right? You got birthdays, you got anniversaries, and, of course, right around the corner is Mother's Day. Celebrate these special occasions by sending a beautiful rose bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com.
Send a dozen. That'll make that person happy. 2 dozen. They're definitely happy. How about 3 dozen? What kind of reaction do you get when you send that significant other 3 dozen roses? That's the deal right now with 1-800-Flowers.com for you, our listeners, and our viewers. 36 stunning multicolored roses for just $36. 3 dozen roses, $36. Incredible value. This week only, so get on it today, gang. You can have it delivered by tomorrow. You can lock in this amazing deal now for delivery in time for Mother's Day. To order these 36 roses for $36, go to 1-800-Flowers.com from your desktop or your mobile device. Click on the radio microphone in the upper right corner, enter Mike. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, enter Mike, or call 1-800-Flowers and mention our first name.
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. His and hers in studio with us now. There's Subway Fresh Take. You'll see him again noon Eastern time today. Oh, and they've got something super special.
It's the best thing we've ever done.
It looks fantastic.
And I sincerely regret that I was not able to take part in it. I've had some stuff going on that I was absolutely all set to be a part of this. You guys were nice enough to invite me, and I couldn't do it. As much of it as you want to tell the audience now, feel free.
Let's see. How should we tease this, Mike? Well, we're going to debut it at noon on our show, but you'll see some social.
In true barbershop fashion.
Yeah, we only get. Yeah, that's right. You can see it before it's supposed to actually hit the debut. But basically, we took the Coming to America barbershop scene to a whole new level. And I think a lot of fun for people will be to figure out who's playing who. And I can't wait to see how many guesses it takes people to figure out who's playing the old man in the barbershop in the scene that we recreated.
Saul.
Yep.
Yeah.
Saul.
Tragically, that was supposed to be me.
I
can tell you now it was supposed to be me, and it isn't.
So we can take you out of the equation. It wasn't you.
You don't guess me because it isn't me. But anyway, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We had a lot of fun doing it.
All right, not a lot of fun. Well, it was actually a lot of fun watching basketball last night because you had 3 really good games. Unfortunately, you have 3 really over series right now. To me, the most significant stories out of last night, as brilliant as Steph Curry was and the comeback and everything else, the most significant stories came in the other games. One of them is Derrick Rose played 48 minutes last night, albeit in a double overtime game, but played 48 minutes, scored 34 points. I actually have a stat on him, including last night. The Bulls have won 8 consecutive games in which Rose plays 40 minutes and scores 30 points. Now, that dates back to 2012. But are you guys seeing a Derrick Rose that you think is enough to put Chicago in a position where they could really beat Cleveland when they meet in the next round?
Chicago was my preseason pick to win the East because I thought it would take the Cavaliers a little time to gel, to get together. And the Bulls, it just seemed like a now or never type of situation for them. But, Greeny, I think from what we've seen of Derrick Rose so far in this playoffs, the Bulls should feel very optimistic about their chances. In years past, when we've seen them, let's just say, go against LeBron James, since it was them in the Heat, prior to this, you had this feeling that Chicago didn't have enough, that they were just kind of Derrick Rose, boom or bust. Mm-hmm. But with the emergence of Jimmy Butler into arguably the best teammate that he's ever had from a production standpoint, in addition, obviously, to Joakim Noah, different functions, if you know what I mean, but that true kind of perimeter running mate. With Noah, Paul Gasol having a phenomenal year. They have everything. They have all the tools. We know that they're going to force you to play their style, force you to grind it out, and how defensively intense they are. But finally, I feel like they have enough offensively to compete with the Cavs.
Well, defense has always been the Tom Thibodeau calling card. Chicago's defense is come and gone this year. What's interesting is, especially if Mirotic comes back healthy, they have so many weapons, so many guys who can get buckets, so many guys that can go to in clutch situations. Now they got Derrick Rose all the way back. I mean, even the bad first half he had in game 2, he was still setting up his teammates, still being aggressive.
And still hit a really key shot down the stretch.
Oh, he came alive in the second half.
Definitely.
But, yeah, I mean, so he's back. You mentioned Butler, Mirotic, Paul Gasol. They just got a bunch of guys who can, make big shots, take and make big shots. Cleveland, offensively gifted. Defensively, while it's been better since the acquisition of Timofey Mozgov, do they have enough defensively to stop Chicago's, all of a sudden, their bevy of offensive weapons?
There's part of me that, being from Cleveland, so I have that for Cleveland to win that championship first since '64, that I'd like to see. But there's part of me that would love to see Chicago make an incredible run into the NBA Finals and see them still, Chicago and Thibodeau, part ways. It blows my mind that could happen.
Hey, people said that about Jim Harbaugh.
I mean, it blows my mind that this Chicago team is getting together, and a lot of that is Derrick Rose, again, because we went through the whole playoff thing with the meniscus, but different injury, obviously, than the ACL, so he's able to come back. And after last night, you really, really have to be saying, wow, this could be the team, and that relationship with the coach and management just amazing to me that it could end.
Coincidentally or otherwise, this happened with the Bulls repeatedly in the 90s. Yeah. Every year was going to be Phil Jackson's last year, and every year they won the championship. So that again, whether that's a coincidence or not, this is not new for that organization. The other storyline last night was Kevin Love's performance, particularly late. LeBron was going to him. There was all this talk about whether or not LeBron trusted Kevin Love. Well, LeBron trusted Kevin Love last night, and Love came up big. And here's the number for. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not looking at you like that. I'm looking at you.
You're looking at you. Yeah.
We have this running argument about
Kevin Love. I know. I've been in the middle of it before. Today's a good day for Michael.
Layering across the set here.
He scored 23 last night, and the Cavs are now 6-1 this year when Love makes 5 or more three-pointers. So since this is a good day for your argument, Michael, I'll start with you. Did you see last night a team that, if they play like that, is winning a championship?
Well, Chicago, as we just talked about, is certainly going to have something to say about it, and I still have Golden State winning it all. But I think, this series, a lot of credit to Brad Stevens and the Celtics. They've given it all they could.
Like that team, don't you?
Oh, man. All they need is a star.
They need that, but boy, you like
they got a lot of good pieces.
The foundation's being laid for these Cavaliers this year, or if Kevin Love sticks around into the future, to have moments like yesterday. They're growing themselves. Again, that was their first road playoff game as a group together. That was Kevin Love's first road playoff game in a city that people have speculated that he'd end up in one day. Same for Kyrie Irving. And for Kyrie to be off, for Kevin Love to step up and make those big shots, that's huge for his confidence. And Jemele and I and everybody else has discussed the relationship between him and LeBron. Last time we were on the show, I think we were discussing whether they needed to be best friends. They looked pretty cool last night.
Well, everybody looks cool when you're making shots.
But isn't that what it comes down to, is performance? It's not personal. It's business, and he handled his business last night.
I think how we all wound up arguing about this, if I recall, me and Greeny were on the side of right and you guys were wrong.
Sounds like
now you own it, but Marshawn Lynch is different. Whoever's with you is right. I got you.
So I think we just wondered if he continued to kind of be this kind of mismatch piece in the offense.
But he hasn't been, though, Jamal. No, that whole thing early in the year, he's been much better since, I think, once LeBron came off vacation than a lot of people actually realized.
His numbers have been solid, but you still have to look at how they have used him, and I think at times they struggle to figure out what that is. What's clear in the playoffs is that there's a concerted effort to get him involved and to keep him engaged, and I think as they continue to do that, it becomes almost muscle memory. This is how the trust is built. I will say this: what we probably were guilty of, and maybe not you in particular, Mike, is we were looking at what happened with the Miami Heat and how long it took them to come together. And it didn't take that long in the course of the season. This time around with the Cavaliers, it took a long time. I mean, we're probably the first half of the season. I think we can say that was very experimental. They make the trade.
Yeah.
Things started to change and develop, and even now they're sort of in the third phase of this. Like, this is who we are in the playoffs. They're still figuring out that identity.
I think we got short memories. It actually took the Cavs longer. They may have. Not the Cavs, the Heat. It might have been 9-8 to start, but they were still pockets of crisis, or whether it was
like who's
created on the
supposed
outside.
to close out the game.
Bosh had many a 3 field goal attempt game, but the difference is Bosh did not, even though people picked on him and for different reasons, Bosh did not have that reputation. We knew what Bosh was doing.
And he found a way to be valuable without having
to on the court in the fourth quarter.
That's the thing. We talk about Love, and the next game we could be talking about him being off the court in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Correct.
To me, this is the biggest question. Forget of the offseason. We talk about free agents. The biggest question, and I can't figure it out because I don't know Kevin Love or what his situation is what he's going to do. Whether the Cavs win the title, whether the Cavs don't win the title, of exactly what he's going to do. At least that's the one thing where the comparisons end with the trio in Miami. You knew Bosh was going to be in Miami. Those three were staying together. Here, we have no idea. What Kevin Love is going to do.
He said he plans on staying. Obviously,
how are you not going to say that when you're playing for them now?
But it's not out of the ridiculous that he would or illogical that he wouldn't. I mean, the drama aside, or the little, back and forth, public or private or subtweeting or whatever between him and LeBron James aside, if he wants to win, we know he had 5 years of putting up great stats and losing. If he wants to win and be part of something special, even if it requires sacrifice, and he's in a great place, not to mention they could pay him the most money. Now, if money matters to him, the rules are set up to where if they got your bird rights, you want to resign.
But we know how much ego matters.
Yeah,
do you want to win as number 3, or do you want to win as number 1 or 1A?
Every player wants to win. I never question that desire, but they all want to win their way. And that's where, I would say 90% of
He got 23 last night. So, okay, how you think he's feeling this morning?
Oh, he feels great, but what if the next game he has 5?
He averaged 16-9 this season. Maybe putting up historic numbers on a losing team gets old. And so to say, he wants to go to the Lakers, can the Lakers put him in a position to win, or is he going to put up great stats and be losing
But the thought process out of these athletes is that I can be the main guy somewhere, so their ego tells them that it can happen. So I think a lot of times they make the move thinking it's going to happen.
He does not strike me as somebody who has some kind of massive ego that's out of control. Kevin Love has never come off that way. But when you know what you're capable of and you're confident in it, it is hard to suppress when you feel like you could do more. And maybe this is all a part of a grand experiment, and this is all conjecture and winds up back.
Get out, give it a guy.
Well, I don't know if
he wound up in, this is just, I'm obviously not making up the speculation because you'll hear it. If he and Russell Westbrook a year and a half from now wind up together with the Lakers, is that the making of another team that could potentially win championships? And he's got a larger role on it. That's the question. Okay, again, his and hers have a very special day ahead of them. They're going to debut this new video that I can't wait to see, and everyone will certainly enjoy it.
We'll link it to you early, Greeny, because you're our boy. We'll hook you up with the bootleg copy.
But everyone can certainly see it at minimum at noon Eastern on ESPN2. Also, the His and Hers podcast on ESPNradio.com and on iTunes. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
I want to see the Marshawn Lynch T-shirt at some point soon.
Done.
I want to see this video. I want the uncut version.
We got that for you.
Yeah, we'll figure out a way to leave that.
The director's cut.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike. ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
You're home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
The best of Mike and Mike.
And we're Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Joining us now in our studio with his Subway fresh take on the world of sports and well beyond. Country music superstar Kenny Chesney. It's great as always to see you, Kenny.
Thanks for having me back.
Every time Kenny comes, I kind of notice the room gets more crowded.
It does.
You understand? I got Nurse Mello, Nancy Mello, who is ESPN the nurse. We haven't seen her in forever. I could break my ankle during the show, and Nurse Mello would be like, "Listen, I've got stuff to do.
I got things to do."
Today, all of a sudden, she manages to wander into the studio.
And people we haven't seen in years all of a sudden filter into the studio. Yeah, I wonder why.
Well, good to see you guys. It's great to have you here as well. Obviously, Kenny Chesney, a huge sports fan as well as interest in so many different things we'll get to. We did get into this ridiculous conversation this morning. You heard a touch of it there about whether or not dogs are actually paying attention. When Golic puts the TV on for the dogs when he leaves the house. Now, I have only one dog, and we don't put the TV on for her. I do find, by the way, that she does a lot of things. We call it counter surfing. She manages to get up. We find like paw prints on the counter. She gets into the garbage disposal, starts eating things she's not supposed to.
Wow.
So maybe we should leave the TV on.
Yeah, I would do something to attract the
Our dog's actually entertained by television.
Well, mine is too. Like I have a dog named Poncho, and ever since I've had that dog, obviously I watch a lot of sports, and so the dog actually got used to, it started associating the da-da-da to me kind of laying in bed watching sports late at night. So anytime the dog would go da-da, it would hear da-da-da, da-da-da, it would run to the bed.
Really?
So yeah.
See,
so Poncho watches ESPN too.
There you go. Dogs are smarter than we give them credit for.
That's very Pavlovian, though. I mean, you hear the Sports Center theme, the dog is running into bed.
The thing that I'm amazed about is that I set the channel for the dogs and I go home and the channel's changed.
Yeah.
Now tell me how that happened.
He leaves it on Mike and Mike, and you come home and all of a sudden
it's on Lifetime.
Dogs are watching other things. Mike and Kenny Chesney. There's so many things that we have talked about over the years, but one thing I realize I've never asked you, and that is because when you talk to you, the way you sing is so different from just your speaking voice and your singing voice. You've got that unbelievable, it's just a great voice.
Thank you.
It's something I would love to have. Your speaking voice is not like that. At what point in your life did you realize, wait a minute, I can really sing? I mean, beyond just, the normal person who's a decent singer.
I don't know that I've actually hit that spot yet, but it was in my family. I was in high school and more in college. I was Lambda Chi Alpha, and the only reason I joined the fraternity was because there was a group of people there that played music. And all of a sudden, I was playing guitar and singing along with them, and I went, wow, it's like, it doesn't sound awful, And so I started playing around Johnson City, Tennessee at East Tennessee State University, and I was just doing it for, so I could to get a little extra money in college, and you can go to Taco Bell and you can pick out a Taco Bell for $2 when you're in college. So I did that. That was just basically how I got started. But I think that when friends that I've known over the years, and they meet me and know me and have known me away from the stage, and then they come and see what we do for the first time, that I do see them on the side of the stage kind of scratching their head a little bit, because it is a completely different person than you get off stage. And I like that, though. I like the fact that I can leave that person up there. Because we all know people that have to be in that mode all the time, and if they don't get it, their footing is not very sound. So, but I like the fact that I've been able, for the most part, to leave that person up there and kind of have a normal life.
But before all the singing and finding out when you can sing and all that, you were a sports guy. I know you were a wide receiver.
Oh,
your high school.
Well, that's a relative term.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt.
I was very slow. I'm 5'6", and I wasn't very fast, and I hated going across the middle. And so that didn't have a lot of options for my high school football coach. But yeah, sports has been a huge part of my life. It is still a big part of my life. I think that the lessons that I've learned from sports, just about, I have a lot of people out on the road with me to get from point A to point B every day. And you learn, especially I think in a team sport. Now, not to knock on golf or anything, but it's not a team sport. Right. I think when you play team sports, you learn to you try to do a lot of special things together. And I think that's what sports taught me. My dad was a basketball coach and baseball coach, and I think not being very athletic, I was very athletic, but I think the fact that I played football but wasn't that good at it made me work a little harder to try to be good at it. And I think that's carried over to everything that I do. And I do take a lot of sports analogies. I give sports analogies all the time. But I do treat what I do a lot like an athlete and a lot like, especially with everybody that works for me and that rolls down the highway with me every night. We do treat it like a team.
Like a team, yeah.
Yeah, if somebody, and if part of that team doesn't do well, then everybody suffers. That's just the way it is.
The team's on tour right now. It's called the Big Revival Tour, now through the end of the summer. All the details, among other places, at KennyChesney.com. And again, we're taking all of your questions for him using the hashtag AskKenny. We'll start sneaking those in. But it's a huge time in the sports world right now. We've got the NFL draft a week away. We've got the huge fight a week away with Mayweather and Pacquiao. We've got the Kentucky Derby is next weekend, basketball playoffs, hockey playoffs, baseball. What are you right now the most excited about in sports?
Well, right now, I'm the most excited about the believe it or not, I watched what you guys said earlier, but I am genuinely excited about the boxing match next weekend. But we do our first stadium show next weekend, and I won't get to see it, because we're playing the San Francisco 49ers baseball stadium next weekend. So I won't get to see it, but
Levi's, you're playing Levi's Stadium.
I am.
So that's playing. What is that? For a concert, is that 90,000 people?
Well, no, in our setup, it's going to be, there's going to be close to 60,000 people.
60,000 people.
Because we'll play from the 15-yard line and play forward.
Right. They don't have anything behind
the Jets usually don't get inside the 15 yard. Come on. Where's the drum? I need a little drums there.
So you're safe inside the 15-yard line.
50,000. I can't. See, here's the thing. People ask us all the time. If people will ask me, because I'm a little bit of an introverted person normally, as I think you are to some degree.
I am.
A quieter
I'm
person.
Socially awkward sometimes.
And people always say, you go up there to TV cameras and microphones and all that. I'm more comfortable doing that and talking in front of a group of people than I am talking to a person sometimes one-on-one. But 60,000 people sitting out there staring at you, that's got to be something.
Well, you do feel the weight a little bit, but you get into the zone and you just do what you do. And I know what you mean, though, because in ways, it does feel like a little awkward to be more comfortable in that spot than it is talking one-on-one with someone. Sometimes I'm that way. I don't know why, but I am. But I think that in sports right now, I think I enjoy the draft because I'm a fan. I got a lot of favorite teams, and I'm interested to see what Sean and Mickey are going to do down in New Orleans, and I'm interested to see, I got a lot of friends in the NFL to see, where everything's going to land. So I enjoy that,
Back to the boxing, you say you're going to miss that, but you're interested in it.
I am interested in it.
Do you think this, we've been asking kind of everybody who loves sports, do you think this helps boxing in a way in the future of it, or is this more just these two guys?
I would hope so. I think it's more the two guys, but I think it's affecting, there's a lot of facets to me in sports that are being affected, like college basketball. I think that when we grew up, I think we're all kind of close to the same age, there was this investment. If you liked your team, there was this investment in the players. And you knew those players were going to be there for 3 or 4 years. That's not the way it is today, and so I think that it's just the time is different. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I think that if, we can get a couple of guys like this fight next week and a few more that people can invest in, I think that's one of the main reasons that it's not what it used to be.
Yeah, we got no one to hang our hat on.
Well, that's just it. I mean, and so I think that a lot of sports have suffered from that, but I think that I hope so, because when boxing is great, it's fun to watch. I mean, it really is, but I do think that there needs to be some characters, like you said, to hang your hat on. So I don't know. I hope it does well.
Mike, Kenny Chesney is with us here. We're taking your questions all morning long for him. We'll sprinkle them in on Twitter using the hashtag AskKenny. The one thing I wanted to ask you, and then I'll get to some of these, but I saw it on one of the tweets as well. I think it was when Darius Rucker was here, but I forget who it was. A musician was in here recently and said the biggest change in the music business is you used to go on tour to support your record. Well, right? Was it Darius? You have a new CD. Now you basically go on tour. That's the meat and potatoes, all right? That's where the artists now are making money, because the CD business, with the way music has changed, is just so different from what it was, let's say, when you got started.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, and nobody really knows where that's going to land. I mean, it's not just music. It's. I mean, if you look at, I was a kid that loved. I had a subscription to Sports Illustrated, and I couldn't wait for that to come in the mail, and it was thick.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like 15 pages. You know, so there's a lot of great things to love about our world and social media, you know, but everything is so instant, and it's affected music, it's affected movies, it's affected the journalism business, it's affected everything. So I think that for the most part, music, people still are getting their favorite songs. They still want to hear it, and they still want to live with it. They're just getting it in different ways. Everything is just so fragmented that the music business hasn't figured out how to monetize that fragment, you know. So, but the thing that I love the most about what I do is the fact of the live element. They get their music somehow, and it's affected sales, sure. But, like, Mike, if you got that favorite song, the fact of you wanting to come hear it live, there's no way to duplicate that feeling. And Darius is right. I mean, that for me, the live touring part of it is the part that I love the most, and it's the part that is, you know, for me, it's the biggest part of what I do and my place in the world.
Let's ask some questions here from you on Twitter. Next question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. I like this one here from Michael Cowles. If you could choose one person, past or present, to sing a duet with, who would you choose?
Oh, wow.
Well, that'll make you think.
We'll give you a few choices.
Bob Marley.
Oh, that'd be good.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think that the music of Bob Marley would be, I think it's some of the most universal music ever made. I don't care where you grew up or what your background is or religious beliefs, political beliefs, whatever. We're all mixed together. But I think that's the most universally accepted music ever made, in my opinion.
I think it'd be a fun recording session too.
Yeah, it would. Look, I have my reasons. Yeah. I didn't say anything to do with the music.
This for JJ. If you were a baseball player, what would your walk-up song be when you were coming to bat, and they could play that song for you? What would your walk-up song be?
Probably. I always thought it would be great to be in that movie. What was it where they did Wild Thing? The movie, the baseball movie.
Major League.
One of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
So it might be Wild Thing. Just because of that.
Yeah.
You know, I've always thought that was really cool when Charlie Sheen would go up on but he went to the mound.
He went to the mound.
You know,
right.
Wow.
That's okay. He still played coming to the plate. Sure.
Yeah, Mariano Rivera had his music and everybody else. This one, I don't recognize the handle. It's at Hannah Storm ESPN.
Oh, who's that?
And she tweets, when is Kenny going to let go of his obsession with the SEC and acknowledge other powers in football, i.e. Notre Dame?
Oh, wow. She just went right for it.
I can say what I really want. No, not really.
I echo that, too, being an alumni with her in Notre Dame.
Well, I mean, I don't know, Mike. What do you think?
You're an SEC guy.
I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Right.
So I'm a Tennessee guy. And I grew up in an area where we didn't have a pro allegiance, you know, and so we didn't have hockey. We didn't have NBA basketball. And the closest thing to baseball was the Atlanta Braves or the Cincinnati Reds. So we lived and breathed Tennessee football. So, and that's kind of the way it still is. And so that's why I have such an allegiance to the SEC, you know. And but Hannah seems to have these blinders on, you know, and maybe Mike to a certain extent about Notre Dame. And what do you call it? A domer? What does that mean? You went to school because of the dome.
You know, so a domer, yeah.
But I am fascinated. Yes, he was. He was looking at it. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Kenny's here, his Subway Fresh take. All kidding aside, because I didn't grow up in it. I grew up in New York, right? So, I mean, I grew up, we had 2 teams in every sport, much less one. And so I have learned over the course of my adult life, particularly coming to work here, there's just something else going on in the SEC. Whether it's the best kind of year-in, year-out basis, those things are cyclical. But the degree to which this is a way of life for fans in that part of the country just is different from
other places. It's a very passionate, like I said, like I grew up in a community where we leaned on certain things. We leaned on family, church, sports, school, and friends, but mostly sports. And that's basically all we had. You know, it was before, it's before the internet. It was before we had cable. So Tennessee football was all we had, you know, and so I think that's very similar in the SEC, you know, with Alabama and you know, those 2 schools are in Georgia, and all those teams play each other so much. And I think that's why. I think that there's so much history and there's so much tradition in the SEC. And I think that's not that there isn't in Notre Dame, because there is. Mm-hmm. But the fact that all those schools want to beat each other so bad, and they play each other every year, and it's really close proximity, and I don't know. It's just it is special. But I think that when it's good, when the SEC is really good, it's great.
Mike and Mike again. Kenny Chesney's on tour right now. You can get all the concert dates and everything else on his website at kennychesney.com, on Twitter at Kenny Chesney. The big revival tour is going on through the end of the summer. We continue taking your questions.
Oh, I got a good one for him.
In 1 minute after this word from YP.com. Mike, what can being listed on YP.com do for your business? You're about to find out for free. YP will give your business a free listing on 2 extremely powerful customer delivering tools, YP.com and the YP app.
Yep, on both those ways, every month over 70 million potential new customers are searching businesses on the YP.com and the YP app. Growing your business requires maximum visibility. If you're not there, they can't find you. Get the maximum visibility that comes from a free listing with America's largest marketing agency for small business. That is YP. You're the expert in your business. YP is the expert in driving new customers to your business. Imagine what that free listing on YP could do to your bottom line. Potential customers are searching for businesses like yours each and every day. Don't let your competitors get there because you're not listed. Visit myfreeyp.com, myfreeyp.com. That's myfreeyp.com. No shirt, no problem.
Kenny Chesney is our guest in studio for this hour. We'll continue taking your questions. We're also going to have the winning word coming up. Your chance to win a fabulous trip to the ESPYs. We've seen Kenny at the ESPYs many times, so he knows how much fun that event can be. And again, you're going to get to go. The winner of this contest is going to get to go the way Kenny would, walking the red carpet, going to the after party, really rubbing elbows with all the major superstars.
It is a lot of fun.
It's a fun event.
Yeah, it really is.
The way we first met Kenny Chesney, again, I'm not to show you what a nice guy he is. Yep. We do the ESPYs all benefits the V Foundation. We were doing our annual V Foundation auction. We'd never met Kenny Chesney in our lives. You just called up and you wanted to be a part of it. You donated some guitars. They went for a fortune of money, and that was really the beginning of this.
And then I met you guys at the
White House.
Remember the White House? But this was before the White House. The White House was, for me, a transformative experience.
It's incredible.
I grew up in New York. I grew up in lower Manhattan. I never listened to country music in my life. And there I am sitting there, and you played a small private concert at the Rose Garden.
I was so nervous.
Were you nervous?
A little bit. I mean,
so more that than 65,000 people.
Oh, no doubt about it. With all the
yeah.
And it was one of those nights where it wasn't all the living members of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame there.
Well, it was a celebration of baseball. There were a ton of baseball. And the commissioner was there, and any number of other people.
But I was
were
more nervous because when I was a kid, I wanted to be Joe Morgan, and Joe Morgan was there.
Yes.
And so I was nervous to play in front of the president and everyone.
Right.
But then I saw Joe Morgan walk in towards, right before I got ready to sing, and then all of a sudden I wasn't nervous anymore because I wanted to meet Joe Morgan so bad. But even as a kid in Little League, I would cuck
the elbow.
I would cuck the elbow because of Joe Morgan. So I was. That's where we.
That's pretty amazing how you're nervous about who you're going to meet. You're always saying, who did you want to meet? That's pretty wild. It was Joe Morgan.
I wanted to be Joe Morgan, like, as a kid. I loved him.
I was much more nervous meeting the president than I was Joe Morgan. Well, I like Joe Morgan.
Yeah.
I keep your point.
Did you have one?
Yeah. This is a good one. So now this is when you were young. When you were young, years and years ago, when you go on a first date, would you sing to her?
No, I wouldn't. I didn't know that would work yet. You know what I mean?
It's got to be a great realization.
All these things about I wish we knew now what we knew. Wish we knew then what we know now.
Yeah.
So
you had a guitar and everything.
I mean, I had Van Halen. Are you kidding me? I was turning Van Halen. That was going to work. So.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a short break here. We have much more to do at Kenny Chesney in our studio. We may have a surprise or two for him planned. We'll see what happens with that. Plus, again, be listening for the winning word, your chance to win a fabulous trip to the ESPYs. All that on the way with Kenny in studio on Mike and Mike. Again, Kenny Chesney has been to the ESPYs many times, knows how much fun that can be. He's in our studio right now. His new CD is available as we speak. It's called The Big Revival, and he's on tour with it all summer long. You can go to kennychesney.com to get his tour dates and all the rest of that stuff here. We may have a special surprise or two along the way coming up for you here in a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, some more questions that have been coming in, and we'll keep sprinkling them in. The one that I liked a lot was... where was it again? The question that I told you. Oh, what's the best concert? I lost. Oh,
live act. Live
from
act.
Ricky Schmidt. What is the best live act you've ever seen, not including yourself? And he says, is it Bruce, because I know you're friends with him? People rave about Springsteen in concert.
I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of great shows, but there's just something about Bruce Springsteen who gives so much of himself up there. I mean, we've all been to concerts where you feel like there's a curtain between the entertainer and the audience. And I'm drawn to people, first of all, that write their own songs and go up there on stage and play them for people. But when you do it with that kind of energy, and I don't know, when I just saw Bruce's show, it was inspiring because he gave so much, if not everything, of himself.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about it.
All right, I have one here. Choice. Would you rather play the Super Bowl halftime or have Tennessee win the football national championship?
Probably have Tennessee win the football national championship, because I really believe I don't know, there's something about playing the Super Bowl that seems like the kiss of death to me.
Really?
I mean, if you think about it, there's nothing positive to come from it, and there's always something negative when somebody does it. I mean, if they asked me to do it, I'd probably do it because of all the promotion that comes along. You hear all the TV announcers start talking about it in October, and they're talking about you, and it's a great thing. I thought Katy Perry did an amazing job this year. I've seen, and Beyonce did a great job. But sometimes there's a lot of negative stuff goes on in that period, and it's not just like nobody's watching. Everybody. So it could be the kiss of death. So I don't know that I would do it. I would probably do it, but I would much rather, I would feel a lot better about everything if Tennessee won the national championship other than playing the Super Bowl.
Other than have to make that choice. Because you know you'd want to do it. But
of course, who wouldn't want to do the Super Bowl? I mean, I would want to do it, but it just seems like the kiss of death.
Mike and Mike, Kenny Chesney, taking your questions using the hashtag AskKenny on Twitter. Also taking them on the phone. I'm told we have a question from the phone now. This is Sean in New Orleans. Sean, what's your question for Kenny Chesney?
Well, would he rather play the post-game party after a Super Bowl win or halftime of a Super Bowl?
I would much rather play the post-game party. What's up?
This is Sean Payton, the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. For those not aware, called in to say a quick hello to Kenny Chesney.
Man, thanks for calling in.
Well, listen, we're going through the draft grades, and it's thin at receiver. And the last time we spoke, your price tag was a little high, but that was when you were in your 30s.
That's true. You can give me a little cheaper now, but I still don't want to go across the middle.
Well, I was going to say, didn't you put him, Sean, in a uniform one time, and did he have some stipulations about not going over the middle?
We signed him to a contract. The whole deal.
They really did, and the media was so aggravated at Sean because he called a press conference. Just, it was obviously something important. I mean, we had everybody there. I mean, you name it. And all of a sudden, Sean comes in, and they're like on pins and needles. Okay, what's going on? Are you Sean retiring? What's going on? Something that obviously is important. And he didn't tell them any different. So next thing you know, he introduces me as their newest wide receiver. And I think they were a little aggravated at you, weren't they?
Well, they were, and we were practicing with the Bengals in the press room there. It's just behind just a closet door. And so as we came out of the locker room and we just opened the door, there was 35 cameras there. and when you're a kid and you pull a prank and all of a sudden, like, your whole shed's on fire.
There was no backing out of it. But we had fun, and we really did. So
it was like, I mean, Benzo, I only wanted 3 or 4 people here.
Well, Kenny, while Sean's on the phone, I'll ask you this question. Maybe you called him after it happened. What did you think of the trade when Jimmy
Graham getting traded away?
Oh, well, you know what? Look, Sean is one of the smartest guys I know, and he's one of the best offensive minds that I know. And and those guys don't make any decisions unless they know what they're doing, I believe. And so, I mean, Jimmy Graham's a big target, you know. But there are other factors that go into it. And like I said, I use sports analogies all the time. Like there's more to doing what I do than just being able to sing, you know. And I think that's the way it is for an athlete too. I mean, yeah. You have players that are on paper that look like, why would you ever trade this person? But there's a lot of intangibles. There's a lot of things that people don't see. And I'm not saying there was or there wasn't. And Sean could speak to that. But I'm just saying that, like, Sean and Mickey are pretty smart. So.
Mike and Mike, Sean Payton is on the phone with us with Kenny Chesney. Just you mentioned you're preparing for the draft. I'm just curious, like, can you give the average fan a sense? We are now 1 week away from the NFL draft, Sean, of just how busy that is. Because, you know, you have to spend the whole season coaching your football team, and then you have this period of time, whatever it's been the last few months, to figure out what moves you want to make right here. Just give us a sense of how much work is going into this at this point for you and your staff getting set for the draft a week from tonight.
Well, I think every team, including ourselves right now, are in their meeting room, and it's a giant meeting room with 10 scouts sitting around the table, 13 scouts, and then a number of the coaches, offense or defensive side of the ball. So call it, you know, really 20, 25 people, and we're going through what we call our final stack. And in other words, the board and the players have been graded, and yet there's some more information that we're gathering from workouts, from injuries. You know, they got to go back for a recheck if they've already been injured. And there's a lot of film. And honestly, it's, you know, 7:30, 8 a.m. till 10:30 at night. It's very tedious. I think it's not as glamorous as Draft Day, the movie. I mean, you're in there, and then there's a giant table over there in the corner with everything bad for you to eat, you know, from sugar, salt, the whole 9 yards. And so it's just a lot of film work, and position by position. Today we're actually on the defensive tackles.
Well, the best athletes on the field, then.
Yeah, Golic. Yeah, that's the central part of any football team.
I was going to say that's going to take up most of your day, I would imagine.
I felt like we were losing you there a little bit, Mike.
I appreciate you bringing me back. Is there a point, Sean, where you guys will close the books after one of these meetings and say, okay, we're done and we're ready for the draft? At what point before the draft do you get there?
That should happen sometime Saturday. Generally, that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if you will, that might be more time spent with Mickey and myself, Jeff Ireland. Maybe, hey, grab a couple coaches and one scout and send them into a room and have them look at 3 more tapes. So to some degree, you're always studying it. But I would say that the position stack will be finished. It's already, you know, there's a first front board stack that's done in February. The final stack will be done by Saturday night. And then early next week would be just, you know, kind of really looking at scenarios in which maybe there's 2 players graded with the same grade. One is a defensive end and the other is a wide receiver. You know, what's the difference in the 2 of them? And then there's always a handful of players that are either off the board medically or off the board from a character standpoint.
Well, listen, Sean, we know how busy you are. Obviously, it's a crazy time. We thank you for taking a few minutes of your time to call in and say hi to Kenny for us.
Love you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Love you too, man. Hey, appreciate you guys having me on, and good luck here as you get started with this tour.
Thanks, brother. Now I know what you meant by talk soon. We played in Albany, New York last night.
This was planned. I sent him a text and said, hey, we'll talk soon.
Okay,
I just like it was just Sean from New Orleans.
But that's where I met Sean, was in Albany, New York. And it was years ago. Sean was the quarterback's coach for the New York Giants. And Jason Garrett was a third-string quarterback. I was friends with Kerry Collins, and we were playing in Albany. They were in training camp. And so Kerry asked me to come out to, you know, it was to training camp while we were playing there. Went out, and that's where I met Sean. I kind of he said hello to me. I kind of dissed him. You know?
No, listen, he did. It was a Wednesday, and all I remember is Thursday morning coming in and finding out we had 16 players miss bed checks. And the only one that was at the show that got back by 11 o'clock was Jason Garrett, and everyone else. Shockey led the charge, of course.
It was Shockey's rookie year, and everybody was worried about getting fined. And Shockey had just signed his contract, before they cut off how much you could make.
Yeah.
Well, Shockey told everybody, I remember it as in a vibe room, Shockey goes, "Don't worry, fellas. We're staying out tonight." And they did.
So, Sean, he kind of blew you off, until you became a head coach, and he was kind of a front runner?
That's right.
Well, listen, we were in the middle of practice, and he was getting ready. I think he was doing a show that night, and so Kerry Collins, Kerry loved country music and still, kind of tinkers with writing stuff, but it was an afternoon practice, and we were up there in Albany, and I just remember the next day, I don't know if we were able to hold a 7-on-7. I mean, we had so many guys that it was like a crisis.
But later on, Sean, went to Dallas with Parcells, and then he started coming to a lot of shows, and it's just so interesting how life works. Like, I met Sean in passing, years ago when he was a quarterbacks coach for the Giants, and now, probably one of my best friends in the world.
That's a cool thing. That's the neat thing.
Sean, I love you, brother.
Thanks a million.
All right, man. Hey, thank you guys again for having me on.
Thanks, Sean.
Good luck with the draft. Sean Payton getting set into the draft, taking a few minutes to call up his buddy Kenny.
That was nice, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, we want to try to have some fun. And I got to bet that's the best war room on draft day than any place else.
With the beignets?
Got to be beignets in there.
Oh, no doubt.
Got to be beignets in there.
He's a good guy, Sean Payton. And obviously, we had him on this year. It's the second time we did something like that. Remember when we had Devin Still,
right.
with his daughter, and Sean had been involved in that. So he's real good with stuff like that. So we appreciate it very much. Mike and Mike, if you've missed anything on the show today, you can download the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. It's available every day on ESPNradio.com. All right, Mike and Mike, we continue with the great Kenny Chesney in our studio. Now, I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because we have spent more than a few of these interviews. I have mentioned you multiple times in my life. I've used your name many times in my life.
I just noticed the exact same thing you did.
I've always called you Kenny Chesney, as though the S is pronounced like a Z. You were just recording some stuff for us, and nice enough to do a few liners, and you were saying Kenny Chesney. And which is correct?
Chesney.
It's Chesney.
The S, but people say Z all the time. It's both ways.
But I've never heard that.
It sounds a little Russian when you say Z.
Yeah, Chesney.
But
there's a little.
But it's Chesney. But
so it's an S, not a Z.
But people do it all the time.
I say Chesney all the time.
Chesney.
Like a Z. Yeah.
But it's people make that pronunciation a lot. So I've gotten used to it.
That's the one thing. Those are the kinds of things that are maybe only interesting to me, but I'm always fascinated. Like, do you know our basketball analyst, Chris Broussard?
Of course.
He used to be Broussard.
Broussard.
Then all of a sudden, one day, he became Broussard.
Broussard.
It threw me off.
Yeah.
I mean, it ruined, like, days of my life. I couldn't get over it.
I wish you'd have told us a lot earlier than that.
It threw me off. We've had people change their pronunciation of their name.
I don't understand it
to me.
Yeah.
We continue taking your Twitter questions. By the way, some news has just come across. Relatively significant. Tiger Woods has just tweeted that he is going to play at the Players' Championship, which, of course, he won 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So that's May 7th through the 10th. Some people call it the 5th major.
Right.
So that appears that's when he's going to make his return.
Oh, good. Him being on a golf course. Listen, did well at the Masters, won that wager that you and I had, and let's hope the more tournaments he plays, the more consistency he gets.
Kenny's CD is available now. It's called Big Revival. He's on tour with the Big Revival Tour. You can go to KennyChesney.com to get all the tours and dates information, and we continue our discussion with him in 10 seconds.
When we do our first stadium show next weekend, I won't get to see it, because we're playing the San Francisco 49ers baseball stadium next weekend.
You're playing Levi's Stadium. For a concert, is that 90,000 people?
Well, no, our setup, it's going to be, there's going to be close to 60,000 people in there, because we'll play from the 15-yard line and play forward.
Right. They don't have anything behind
The Jets usually don't get inside the 15-yard line. Every once in a while, I have a decent line. But the Jets are going to trade up for Mariota. I'm telling you right now. Boy. By the way, Kenny, that's what's going to happen here. This is my prediction. And I know there's a ton of misinformation. The great Kenny Chesney is in our studio, for those just joining us. I really believe the Jets are going to trade up.
And get Mariota,
unless the Chargers decide to trade Phillip Rivers. If they do decide to make that move, then I think Tennessee will take that deal.
I think
I think the Jets are going to wind up with Mariota.
Yeah, I can see where he would go to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Philip.
I mean, where he would want to. Yeah, he's a Southern guy.
Doesn't want to go to L.A. San Diego.
I think that would be short term. I think it would be great for Tennessee.
Yeah.
You know, because they need some stability. You know, and it's such a passionate town. I think that something like that would invigorate the team,
33
the town.
years old. Got to figure 5 years.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, but he's a great player. You know,
absolutely.
and I think it would be great. I hope they do that.
Yeah.
All right, we are Mike and Mike. We do forward thinking, looking ahead to a big weekend. It's brought to you by Mahindra USA, the world's #1 selling tractor. What are we looking forward to as far as forward thinking is concerned this weekend? If the computer would ever work for me here, I could tell you. Here we are. We have Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio. We'll get the Subway Series for you tomorrow and Sunday. Tomorrow's coverage starts 3 o'clock Eastern, then primetime Sunday night. And we have the NBA playoffs on ESPN Radio. Golden State, New Orleans is tomorrow night primetime. Sunday afternoon, the Clippers and Spurs in what is, without question, the best of the first-round playoff series so far. So that one coverage 2:30 Eastern. That's our forward thinking brought to you by Mahindra. Who do you think is going to win the title this year, Kenny? Who wins this? LeBron win the whole thing in Cleveland and that long drought?
I don't know. I mean, I think that I can. It's. I just don't know. I think it's possible. I would almost. Chicago looks like they have a slight chance to win it, and Golden State. If that guard is unbelievable. It's just you haven't seen anything like that. No, a guy that's that good. There is something to be said, though. I mean, you have to respect the San Antonio Spurs no matter what, because they just somehow seem to find themselves in that spot, and there's something to be said for that longevity and for continuing to be great.
We keep saying they're going away, and they just don't go away.
And they don't.
I mean, you wonder if this is finally the year, win or lose. We'll see.
Well, this could be the year that you get your chance to go to the ESPYs, which is annually one of the great events in sports. If you're a sports fan, this is about as good as it gets. And our contest continues right now with your chance to win a fabulous trip to the ESPYs just for knowing that today's winning word is the word love.
Love.
Spelled just the way it sounds, L-O-V-E. Kevin Love had a big night last night, and so the winning word is love. You can enter all of the 3 ways Golic is about to give you, and if you win, you and a guest will be on your way for a magnificent trip to the ESPYs, which will include walking the red carpet with the huge celebrities, both from the world of entertainment, and Kenny Chesney's been there many times, and of course, all the biggest stars in sports, and then going to the after party, which is awesome. So the word is love, and Golic, there are 3 ways.
3 ways, and only 3 ways. These are the only 3 ways. Okay? And do each one of them. Call 855-ESPN-WIN. That's 855-377-6946. Text to 777-000 or click on ESPNradio.com. Those are the only 3 ways to enter. You can enter all 3 ways, so you can get 3 entries in there. It's going to be a fantastic trip. You're going to be treated just like one of the big-time sports figures there.
That's exactly right. The entire thing is called the Mike and Mike Experience at the ESPY Sweepstakes. It's presented by AutoZone. It's called The Zone. AutoZone will help you get there. Okay, Mike and Mike, the great Kenny Chesney is here. Let's get as many more of these questions as we can in. Chris writes, and I'll clean it up a little bit because I don't make you say you hate anybody.
Oh, no, sugarcoat it.
What SEC team do you consider to be your biggest rival? You're a crazy Tennessee fan. Which team in the SEC do you consider your biggest rival you dislike the most?
I think the best tradition, it's easy to argue this, but I think the best traditional rival is Alabama. You know, even though Alabama has been far superior in the last several years. But I think that there's one team that Tennessee would love to beat the most, even if they're good or awful or great. It would be Alabama. I mean, that's been the most traditional rival and the team that I think that Knoxville wants to beat the most, in my opinion.
All right, one thing we always talk about is how entertainers love to be athletes. Athletes want to be entertainers.
No doubt about it.
So I asked Darius this. I said, would you give up all your Hootie and the Blowfish success and all your country's success to hold the record right now for I said the 18
majors?
Majors, thank you. I couldn't even think of the word. The 18 majors in golf, because he's a golf freak. He said in a heartbeat he would take the majors over his career. What would you give up your career for as a sports, like a trophy? Is there anything?
Maybe to play second base for the Boston Red Sox. If I could be Dustin Pedroia, I'd love it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I would really love it. But I mean, I love what I do, so it's hard to imagine that. But if I couldn't do this, and if I could go do something else and they could just transform me there, I would like to play second base for Boston Red Sox.
And here's what I really enjoyed. This one from Janine. Been dying to ask Kenny, what do you do with all the sleeves? Where is this big old pile of gray sleeves?
The what?
Sleeves.
My sleeve shirts. I don't know what they do with it. Maybe we should come up with something.
Yes.
Some sort of sleeve foundation with Mike and Mike. You know, it'd be fun.
That would be good.
We could sell anything here. The concert is, the tour is going on right now. It's called the Big Revival Tour. The CD is called the Big Revival. It's available right now with Kenny Chesney. Mike and Mike brought to you by 1-800-Flowers.com. We have an incredible offer from 1-800-Flowers.com that she will love. 36 stunning roses for only $36. That's 3 dozen roses for $36, but you have to order today. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com now. Click on the radio microphone, enter Mike, or call 1-800-Flowers and mention Mike.
A little bit of time left. Is there anything better than when you're at a concert, because I love watching you guys when you do it, when the crowd takes over and sings your song?
Nothing better. The fact that they care and that there's passion and that not that they just listen to your songs on the radio, but they live. You can tell when they sing it back to you with like that they've lived with it, and that you just can't replace it.
To me, that's one.
That's why I don't want to play second base.
Yeah. You don't want a ball going through the legs.
And you can keep doing this for another 30 years, which no one is going to do that. Kenny, it's a pleasure to see you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming in.
This has been the best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNRadio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Isn't this weather great, Golic?
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a day like this.
Oh, and we're doing it upright. Some Johnsonville brats on the grill, a cold drink in our hands, feet kicked up. This is how to live.
Yeah, can you imagine all those people who have to be inside working on a day like this?
Yeah, those poor people.
Oh, I'm just so glad you found those guys to fill in and take our place on the show today.
Wait, what? I thought you were going to get the guest host for today.
No, Greeny. I said I was going to get some root beer floats.
Well, then who's doing our show right now?
Well, that's not good. We better get back to the studio.
But Golic, the brats are ready.
Oh, man, Johnsonville brats, all that full, juicy flavor that comes from only premium cuts of pork. We could probably enjoy a couple of these before we head back, right?
I don't see why not. That static seems to be doing okay, and it's certainly not going anywhere.
Then neither are we. Pass me one of those Johnsonville brats.
Johnsonville, served with pride since 1945. Find delicious recipes for the grill at johnsonville.com.
Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.